You can imagine that with a boisterous personality like my own and with a tone so loud, I would get some problems with authority. And you would be right. Until I was 18 or 19, I had huge problems with authority. But then I realized I learned about CBT, which is cognitive behavior therapy, which says that your response to the situation has a lot to do with what you get back. So, no matter if you are in an abusive relationship or just a dysfunctional one, if you can give another response, you can get another thing back. And once I realized that, I stood there and I thought about all of these things. And I solved most of my family issues, the ones that I had when it came to the relationship with them. From daily, weekly arguments to none at all in just a few months. And I learned some things. But you see, most people will tell you that this is not the right way to do it. But it solved all of the issues. You see, no more arguments, no more problems. Everything was fine. They didn't even notice. Most of my family didn't even notice until later on, 5, 6, 7 years later. They realized how bad they were and what bad emotions they harbored against me for no reason. And they actually stood me at a table and said, I'm sorry, realizing that I just abandoned all of that discussion, all of those triggers that they had, all of these wounds that they had from somewhere else and they were putting on me. You have to understand that that's what it takes. I was just removing myself. At first I was trying to give a different response, but I was unable to actually give a different response because the different response they were asking was disproportional. You see, when someone is angry, even if you do exactly what they are asking for, they will be unable to change their emotions, most of them. So I was just removing myself. But you see, most people will tell you that that's avoidance. You're avoiding the conflict. No, you're avoiding hurting people and being hurt yourself. Just remove yourself from that situation. Try to do it without really saying anything. And come back in an hour or 2 hours and learn how much time it takes to actually let them run out of their emotion. Because most people cannot sustain that anger and that frustration if they have nothing to push against. So you see, of course, it wasn't just them. I was prideful. I was right. I couldn't really concede. I knew that they were a little bit wrong and I wanted to prove it to them. So you see, that created a lot of conflict. I knew they weren't perfect. So I had a lot of things to say back when they were doing that. And that would create tremendous amounts of friction. But then I just removed myself and how great I was feeling. The first day I did that, I just walked out. I started dressing myself for the outside, put my jacket on, and just left as they were screaming. And when I came back, they were okay. They asked me if I wanted some food and so on and so forth. The conflict solved itself because I wasn't there to push back. And when it happened again, I just left again. But now they weren't screaming when I was leaving. They were just angry a little bit. And when I came back, everything was okay. And then the third time or the fourth time or the fifth time it happened, I cannot remember when it was, I didn't even have to leave. I would just breathe and just let it run out and be okay with the fact that I saw some and did some things that made other people angry. You see, I didn't respond in the same way. I would respond with calmness as opposed to acidity, as opposed to just ego, you know? But it took me avoiding things. And sure, for this to work, I still to this day have to avoid triggers that people have in my family, triggers that would just create conflict. And I note them down, and I have notes of the things that I should be avoiding if I want a good relationship with the other person. But you see, again, most people will tell you that that's avoidance. If avoidance is what it takes to actually go and have a great relationship with your family, not avoidance in the same way as in avoiding them, avoidance of certain subjects. There are a million other subjects that you can talk to about. Of course, I was blessed enough to not have a very, very, very bad family. It was dysfunctional, sure, but it wasn't traumatically dysfunctional. It wasn't extremely bad. Other people have worse situations, and I'm not saying that it might work for that as well, but you might give it a try for as long as you are forced to live with them, forced to be their child or whatever it is, their brother, their sister. You see, it was easy for me to do. In 4 months, 4 to 5 months, I've completely changed the relationship that I had with my family, especially the bad ones. And they haven't even noticed. They haven't even noticed that in 4 months, we went from daily to weekly fights and arguments to actually none at all in months or years. Now it's years. So, but the point is that you can do it, but don't expect people to be appreciative. Sure, some of them will notice at some point, but it will take them years or months or even decades to actually realize how much your relationship has changed. You see, they don't even remember that period of time. They don't even remember. They were in such a big emotional hurdle, emotional overwhelm, that they don't remember that they wanted for that to change. And when it changed, they're not even able to be appreciative of the fact that it changed. So don't expect that. If you expect that, you will never have a good relationship. The point is that I've done this with other people as well, not only my family, with friends and relationships. And again, it never is obvious for them. When you are changing something and it has a tremendous change and you don't tell them about it and you don't want to be like, oh, I did this, they don't even notice. They don't even understand that things have changed so tremendously for the better. They just enjoy the relationship, the new relationship. But you see, a lot of people will tell you that this is avoiding behavior. But if they drive on the road and they start seeing that the road that they are on is in construction or is very, very bad and they can damage their car, they're just going to take another road or avoid the roadblocks. But you see, when it comes to relationships, what they tell you is take the roadblock, take the plot hole, take the whatever, signpost. Why are you avoiding conflict? It's dumb. You would just want to avoid all obstacles on the road to have a better experience and to not damage yourself or the things that you hold dear. You understand? That's what it is. That's exactly what I'm telling you to do. Avoid the roadblocks. If you see the saying plot hole or however it's called every single day and you take it over and over and over and over again, at some point, just try to avoid it. And then avoid it every single time. And then it forms a habit. And now you don't have to worry about it. And sometimes it fixes itself. But sometimes you just have to avoid it forever. Yes. But you wouldn't be angry about that. If you know about it, if it has reoccurrence, then it's a roadblock that you should avoid. Try taking another route. See what that gives you. Maybe the parallel road is better. And because it's better, it's even faster. That's the point. If it doesn't have any plot holes, if it doesn't have any roadblocks, if it doesn't have construction, if it doesn't have car parked on the both sides of the road, making it very, very difficult for two cars to go in the opposite directions. The other road might be faster. Even though you are taking the longer road, you're going to end up faster because it doesn't have traffic, it doesn't have road bumps, it doesn't have shitty asphalt. So you see, most people would rather take that road because they think that that's not avoidance. Instead of realizing that they would have so much more of a great relationship with their family and with their friends and with their relationships, in their relationships, if they just started avoiding the big things, the big plot holes that not only damage yourself, but damage the road even more. So you see, that's the point. Sure, it's really frustrating to know that they can fix that damage on the road. They have that power. But you also have the power to avoid it, or to jump over it, or to take another road. Change the subject. Have a different subject than the one that you want to talk about. And at the end of the day, why is that subject so important that you have to talk about it all the time if you know it creates conflict? And on the last note, most of the things that you need to avoid can be solved by access. You see, most people will just assume you stopped doing the things that annoy them if they don't know about it. And the only way that they can know about it is from you. You see? So if it's something they don't really like about you that you are doing, just avoid doing that in their presence or avoid talking about it. And in time, if you end up telling them again, and you tell them like, look, for the last 4 years I've been doing it, but I know it gets you angry, so I've avoided it. They will accept it. They will be like, oh, okay, I understand. They still will not like it, but they will accept it. So it's all about access and all about avoiding the pitfalls. That's how they're called, pitfalls. Avoid those pitfalls and you will have so much better relationships.